So I'm recording it and I'll just send it to you afterwards.
Okay. All right. So I just asked you, so how is that going? And about the possibility of moving or not moving or.
So it's it's interesting because I'm feeling like a lot more open to it, and I guess I'm more in touch with this very needy side of myself that I had been shutting off for a long time, where I was like, I don't even have that side. And
Mhm.
now sometimes it's so present that it's like excruciatingly painful. Um, so that's interesting. But there's a couple things about my mom that have come up that I wanted to talk about. But I've been like, I guess I'm curious about how to talk about it. I don't feel like this today, but like several times in the past few weeks, I've been really depressed, like really, really depressed. And, but it also just feels like extreme pain. So it kind of goes back and forth between like pain that I can kind of like feel as pain, and then other times it just feels like dragging me down, like um too much to tolerate
Mhm.
emotional pain. And so that's been hard. Like it's just, I guess it hasn't felt like when I'm in it, I can't perceive that it's I'm not going to feel like that
Mhm.
sometime.
It's like
um
this is what's this is staying. This is where it's at forever.
yeah. And so I think because of the age of the kids that I work with, recently I had been thinking about um, my own adolescence and like what I was missing at that time.
Mhm.
And there's this one kid on campus who has an eating disorder, and she is has lost a bunch of weight, and she, I don't know, it's just it's she's not my client, but she's in my group. And um I used to feel just kind of cut off from that part of my life, like it was a different person, but now I've been feeling more in touch with it, which is part of that pain and how I felt at that time in my life. But when I was like 16, 17, I developed, I wouldn't, I don't know if I would call it like a full blown eating disorder, but like definitely some disordered eating. I think I weighed like 90 pounds or right around there when I was a senior in high school. And finally now I'm thinking like, what was going on? Like, why didn't anyone notice? Because like I've looked back at pictures of myself from that time and just felt sad and afraid, and like, so I was talking to my sister like a week ago, and I was telling her about this, that I was feeling mad about that at my parents. And she said, we tried to get mom to do something about it. And when she said that, she said it kind of nonchalantly because we were just talking, and then I was like, man, that makes me want to cry. And and she was like, I'm sorry I said it like that. Anyway, um it that the next few days I was just a wreck. Like so it just
Mhm.
was so painful, like.
Mhm.
And I think also what's painful is that it's this kind of peeling away of this like artifice of my perception of my mom, um because I've idealized her a lot. And so I also, during that time when I was really sad, I developed this crazy back pain like I've never had in my lower back, and I like couldn't even like stand up all the way. And I somehow made the connection where I was like, well, I guess I have to bring it up with her. Like I was like, it just felt like it was lodged in there. And I really didn't want to, but I did. I talked to my mom about it the other day, and we had a long conversation, and it wasn't, I don't know, I'm still just not resolved on it somehow. Like, she definitely heard what I was saying. And she was like, I feel so terrible that I wasn't aware of what you were going through at that time. I thought it was a phase. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It just, I'm kind of, I realized while I was driving home today that, part of what am hoping for in this process is to, I don't have to be perfect. I can be whole. And part of that is me being able to see my mom like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like not needing her to be a perfect mom, but instead seeing her as a flawed person, which in some ways right now is feeling like deeply flawed. And that realization for me and the evidence of it, I guess, that it feels like there is like the not seeing that I needed help, and like the other example is like, for some reason, when I was dating this guy in high school, and my parents never talked to me about sex at all. Um, and my mom's way of dealing with it was, we went to the mall and then we got back and she said, I almost bought you a promise ring so you wouldn't have sex with him. And I was like, what? Like, we're not, if like fundamentalist Christians, like. And so I brought this up with her on our phone call, and I was like, you did this so that I wouldn't have sex? And she's like, I don't remember that. I'm sorry, that's really weird. Like, she just like
Yeah.
had these. Now that I'm seeing what it takes to be like a attuned parent in adolescence, it takes a lot. Um, and my mom was really limited in some of that.
Yeah.
So
She didn't have a lot of tools in her toolbox. Yeah.
So I guess what I'm also wondering is like about my perfectionism, or my kind of inner critic stepping in as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
through that eating restriction, and
Yeah.
in a lot of different ways. And like right now, I guess I'm at this place where I'm like, but it would have been nice to keep living in that world where I thought my mom was perfect, and because it's so painful. It's it's like I cannot find the value in it right now, even though I believe on the other side of this it's there because it's more whole. I think I'm up against some pretty deep stuff in myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sounds like you've been doing a lot of work, Susanna.
Ugh.
Yeah.
It's like, can I ever not be? you know?
Yeah. And a lot seems to have been coming up through this process and continue to process in between our time and a month's time, it seems like. continuing the process. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have the last couple times we've been going to reprocessing, I've been kind of dreading it because I think that's what happened last time where I kind of put a lid on it. Like I am doubting my ability to tolerate it, and like so I'm trying to not be afraid, and I'm trying to not
Mm-hmm.
approach it in like that way where I think something bad is going to happen to me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That idea of being able to tolerate it. Yeah. Yeah. What's going to happen? Yeah. And does pain mean it's not good? What is happening is not good.
It
Does
feels
that make
like
sense?
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why you've been keeping a lid on for all. Yeah. That the pain can actually be something that can be welcomed and shared, or processed. Yeah. Well, Emma's going to do a short grounding.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's too dark. Okay. Let's just start out by putting your feet on the ground and closing your eyes gently if you feel comfortable with that. Taking a few breaths. And just notice. Spend some time noticing what you hear, what you become aware of on the inside and on the outside. Inhale and exhale longer. Inhale. I want you to spend some time just hearing these words. I say them a couple of times. I am enough as I am. I am enough as I am. Sense what came up for you, what you noticed, any thoughts, any feelings, sensations. What did that mean? And as you think about that, feel about that, I'd like you to bring in a loving presence, something that's symbolic to you, a person, God, spiritual force, something that is soothing and holding. Light and warmth, passion. Gently move your feet. Mm. All right. So, since our last time, have you noticed any other experiences? I mean, obviously, a lot came up. We've just talked about a lot. So, are there any other noticings or changes or reactivity?
Well, I guess the other piece about my relationship is that, like, I'm not being as rigid about it. So that feels really good. Um, like I think I told you I wrote him an impact letter, which is from like residential and wilderness treatment. And he was supposed to write me one back, and he hasn't yet. And he keeps avoiding it, which is like, in my impact letter, I was like, you are avoidant. But instead of like me bringing it to a place where I'm like, you haven't written me my impact letter yet, and you said you would, and this means that we can't be together, which I was doing for a while, like bringing it to that level. I'm like, hey, like, this is how you said you'd do this, and it's making me feel like this, and I want to know what like I've done that's hurt you so I can work on it. And he was like, yeah, you're right, I will write it. And so I guess like I'm not like driving to the edge of the cliff and being like, what are you gonna do? You know, like it's like
Sure.
So that's feeling really good. Positive.
That's it. So sitting with the uncertainty.
Yeah, but as I'm sitting with the uncertainty, I'm feeling more like, hey, I think this relationship definitely has more going for it than I thought.
There's more holding it. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Anything else? Get started.
Just the depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it feel like it vacillates between feeling of depression and then the extreme pain? Or does it feel like they're all the same?
It's kind of like different layers, like and also part of it, I think this time was hormonal, but I don't know. I assume some of it was emotional because that I don't feel like that extreme every month.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like just like I feel like I'm a huge piece of shit, basically, that like, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very convinced of that, and just kind of going through the motions. And I know that some of that, I think, is like this retaliatory thing of like, you're not supposed to make your mom feel bad. That I'm doing to myself, even though intellectually I know that I can't make her feel bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're starting to talk about some important things and some honesty. Yeah. You get a little bit of backlash there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we go back to that memory of your mom telling you about the time that you looked at the exit sign, that you read the exit sign, what is the image that is the worst part of that memory now?
I have an image of it's weird, so it's like kind of faded, but I feel like just this image of a gap in understanding.
Okay. What emotions are you feeling now?
Sad and Frustrated?
On a scale of 0 to 10, how disturbing does that feel to you now?
A 6.
Bring up that memory. Notice where you're feeling that disturbance in your body and follow my fingers. What are you noticing now?
I was wondering if you could do like a little bit like more in the screen.
In the screen? Was I going too far out this way?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so in the screen is this. Can you see it?
Yeah, a little bit like more in the screen. Sorry, it's just distracting when the fingers go out. Yeah,
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah.
thank you.
Maybe. I'm trying to. Okay. I don't know why I'm having a hard time. Okay. What are you noticing now?
Um, I just noticed this like kind of gnawing hunger in my stomach.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I was just noticing, I was thinking about how when I was in high school, I was like having a lot of stomach problems, and my dad, like, I think I was getting in trouble because I was late for school a lot, and my dad kind of had this conflict with my teacher, and like, I not bullied him, but kind of like pressured him into not having it count against me. And then I was like, man, I've had so many issues with food because that was a lactose intolerance issue that got diagnosed. So I was just thinking, like, wow, my food problems have really been a lot.
Can you go with that? What are you noticing now?
Feeling angry at my mom about my like how she dealt with sexuality or didn't deal with it, and how I feel like that's impacted my own way of dealing or not dealing with it.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Just this like desire to be more in my body and have it feel more alive instead of cut off.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Just felt like a sense of calm with this breeze that was coming in, and like a felt softening.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Um, it's a little weird to explain, but I was thinking about Alaska, which in my dreams always represents this very special place in my psyche. And then I was thinking about this is weird, but when I was little, I was like looking out the window in my parents' bedroom, and I had this sense that I was having nostalgia for a past life, and I was like missing my life as a pirate. And I was like really overcome by this feeling.
With that. What are you noticing now?
So I guess what I'm confused about right now is if my answer is coming up, because I think part of my answer is my family's answer, which is to say things were good. They weren't bad. Like think about all the good times you had, which I can think of my mom saying to me about my relationship with my dad. Like, remember all the good times you and dad had when you were little? Because right now where my mind is going is to I've been stuck in the pain of my childhood with reprocessing, and now my mind is going to like these positive memories that felt really good that I haven't had access to for a while. So it actually feels supportive in this moment to be like, oh yeah, I remember that feeling of wonder, or
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
this memory that has been coming up for me recently of pretending to be witches with one of my friends in the backyard and making a brew in like these buckets. We got all these weeds and stuff from the backyard, and we put them in water and we mixed them around, and we said we had there was it was a potion that we were making to become billionaires or something. And I was just feel like smelling the smells and the feelings of being in my backyard.
Go with that.
I was
What are
thinking
you
about
noticing now?
this friend, the friend that I was making the potion with, her house. I was thinking about the yard, and also that that house was just like my own house, I guess, kind of fraught with like the adults' reactions to things were not predictable. Like sometimes her mom would be really nice to me, and sometimes she would explode and yell at me, and I just didn't know. And I felt like so much was on me to manage. Like, um, it was my best friend, and so one time I ran over and I got ice from their freezer and put it in a glass and got a glass of water, which I thought was a normal thing to do, and my mom got upset with me for that.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
My mind went to synagogue and how like I'm just feeling mad. All these kids were so the adults were so controlling. That's what I'm feeling right now. I'm mad.
Go with that. Really noticing that.
Just a lot of anger, I think, that was is kind of trapped in my childhood that didn't I wasn't allowed to safely express, and I didn't know how either.
Mhm. Really noticing that.
Just feeling pissed off.
With that. Really noticing that.
This is not like a new realization for me, but I was just thinking about how my dad was like pretty oppositional when he was growing up and had some like pretty extreme behaviors, and he had really low tolerance for any of that with us.
Go with that. Really noticing that.
I have this like fear inside that I'm like, if I this is happens to me a lot right now, like I'm like, if I don't, I need to figure my shit out before I have kids, and I'm not figuring it out. Like, I need to process, I need to do this, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I was just thinking of my dad's mom.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Um, Trying to say it in one out breath. I was really close with her, and I realized the other day how closely in my family love and judgment go together. And she she was like that, and I really miss her.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I was just thinking like and realizing like she was an amazing grandmother, and I think limited in some ways as a mom, and my dad was pretty limited in some ways as a dad, and he's an amazing grandpa, and I feel sad and frustrated about that.
Go with that.
I'm I'm noticing that sometimes like the pressure that I put on myself to be whole is just another way to pressure myself to be perfect. And like what would it feel like to just be myself instead of trying to be whole? Because that's also really a lot to put on myself.
Go with that.
Just want to take a chill pill and relax with myself.
With that. What are you noticing now?
I just started feeling like a lot of heat in my head and kind of like zoning out, which is normally when I want to stop, but I'm going to keep going.
Okay. Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Just kind of buzzy, uncomfortable in my head and my feet.
Okay. Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I just had this memory of like a few years ago flash up when we were in Sedona, that area with one of my partner's friends, Niels. I don't know why that came up, but
Does it feel related to this memory?
so he's like a moody guy, and I feel anxious around him sometimes. Like I need to figure out how to make him happy, and like um, if I could do the right thing or say the right thing, he would kind of feel comfortable around us. That's how I don't know.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
No change.
No change. When you go back to the original memory, what do you notice?
I feel like there's an iceberg of anger, and this is how much I let myself see, and this is how much is under.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
My anger gets followed by like despair of like I'm like, how can we all survive each other? And like me, how can each person's needs get met? They can't. That's where I go.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I just had this memory arise of, I guess it's another relationship where I was trying really hard to please, and like it was my best friend growing up, but a different one. This was more like adolescence best friend, and we were on a walk. This really that to me felt like a magical experience, just the things we saw and the experiences we had together, and I felt this sense of like that day, like I just being me was, even though I was also like I really want her to think I'm worth being around, I also felt like it all just came together that day, and I was like she wanted to be with me.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
This memory that I've been having recently of like being in dressing rooms with my mom at the mall and her just not wanting to be there.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
This question like why don't you want to be with me, and then I also had that memory again of when I would hide in um the the clothing racks.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I was just noticing that I realized that I was hiding because I wanted to be found.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Really sad and feeling like I'll never be found.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Sad and like that's I think that's what my anxiety is about. My anxiety that's oh like there all the time is just that I'll never be found.
Go with that. Yeah, just go with that. This is it. Time. What are you noticing now?
I was like torn between wanting to cry harder and like do this, but also continue to watch your fingers.
But with that, what do you need to do? It's okay. Do whatever you need. Since I'm not there, you can also tap your knees. You just tap.
Me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
If that would be helpful, if you want to be able to do what you need.
Hold on 1 second. Just putting this on a chair.
What are you noticing now?
I'm like trying to access that emotion, I guess.
Go with that.
I just had this memory of this yoga for trauma training that I did like a couple years ago, and how something about how I'm feeling right now, like vacillating between anger and sadness, and then like wanting to show up in this particular way as like someone who wants to learn yoga and like all of the parts of me, like the judgy part, the angry part, the deeply sad part, and this part of me that genuinely wants to help people. And how I really struggled with that during that training, because I didn't feel like I should have all those parts there.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I was zoning out a little bit, looking at your blue blinds and how I liked them.
Go with that. When you go back to the original memory, what are you noticing?
It's weird. It's like I feel like I have to like say it out loud in order to access it. Okay, so my mom, I said, does that say emergency exit to my mom? And she said, yes. I feel like I'm describing a play.
Okay. Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I think I've told you about this dream that I had when I was little, where my mom died in the dream, and she we were on a desert island together, and she flew into space like upside down, and it was like really disturbing. And she, whoa. Holy crap. I just realized that dream when I was little, I think was about my little kid fear of my mom. Where was she emotionally? So it's like I knew it back then, but I couldn't consciously know it. And I just remembered another dream I had when I was little where I had a mom that had plastic eyes. That was like a stuffed animal, like how some of them have plastic eyes, and she wasn't my real mom. In the dream, she was like an imposter, and it was really upsetting. So it's weird because right now I feel really sad, but I also feel relieved. Like it's not like the depression pain. It's like a clearing pain of like, this isn't news. Part of me knew. Like it's like so intense.
Go with that.
I'm just actually feeling a little bit excited.
Go with that. What are you noticing?
I just found myself wondering, like, what does this mean? Like, how do I know when I've worked through it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Go with that. What are you noticing?
I was actually just appreciating my metaphorical brain, which I've really, it's even like hard for me to say out loud because I don't know, it's hard for me to talk about things that I like about myself. But that's like very particular to me and I appreciate it.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
Okay. When I was little, I was obsessed with The Little Mermaid. And I was just thinking about that and like Triton had a really bad temper, and my dad also did. And then I was just like, Ariel's mom wasn't there. And I just never thought about that.
Cool with that.
This is so cheesy. I was just thinking about how I think when I fell in love with Casey, like I felt found. And I think it's like I was like I thought he would give me legs, or like Ariel, and now I've been flopping around because I'm still myself.
Good with that. What are you noticing now?
I'm just excited to tell him about that.
Well, we're getting ready to end now. When you go back to the original memory, on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 is no disturbance and 10 is the highest disturbance that you can imagine, how disturbing does it feel to you now?
I can't really bring it up, but the number 3 came to me, so
Okay.
I think that's so weird, like how that happens to me anyway. Like it just is like when you back to the original memory, it's like what memory? Like it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of unsettling for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it feels like a 3. Well, you've done some very good work, and I appreciate your effort that you've made. And what feels like the most important things you have learned about yourself or for yourself today?
I have this really tender feeling about my little kid self that I feel like it has been rescued.
Mm-hmm.
Just thinking about my dreams and the myths that I was drawn to, like I had a lot going on, and I guess I have been having this fear lately that like I have somehow been creating my wounded child self, and like that I'm like staying stuck here and I should move on. And but then this experience is just kind of like I don't know, I just feel like I didn't make it up, it just happened, and it felt very clear in the moment what was going on. So
Yeah. Setting the necessary conditions for your nervous system to do what it needs to do. Right?
yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. So the processing that we've done may continue after a session, and you may or may notice new insights, thoughts, or memories, or dreams. And if so, noticing what you're experiencing. If you wish to record it on the memories and rise log, you can use the resources we've worked on. Manage any disturbance, and we can work on the material next time. If necessary, you can call me.
Thank you so much. I'm like pretty excited about this.
Yeah, you're welcome so much. Look forward to processing it with you. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll end
right.
and I'll see you Friday.
Yeah, Friday at 5. And if I can do 4, I'll text you. And if you're available, if not,
Yeah, just
we'll
let me know.
Okay.
Everyone's fine.
Bye-bye. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Well, alrighty, bye.